Stop, look, and listen. We are about to begin. Our dear honorable guests, administrators, educators, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a revitalized day to all of you, magnified in God's grace of beauty, health, and safety. Welcome to the Faculty Development Program of the College of Public and Business Administration with the theme Revitalizing the Virtual Teaching and Learning in the New Normal and Beyond. A day calls us to stop. S for silent, T for think, O for observant, and P for plot. Look, L for lovable, O for optimistic, O for observance, and K for knowledge. Listen, L for look, and I for imagine, S for seek, T for turn, E for expect, and N for new. To begin with, we proudly present the original song composition of our CBPA gifted family members in celebration to our diamond anniversary. Lyrics by Professor Ronaldo F. Doroteo, Chief of Iris Interfaith Services. Performed in music by Professor Evelyn Celestial, Chief of Culture Affairs Services. Entitled Iris Forever. Now, may I invite everyone to please give a virtual applause to Professor Evelyn Celestial.
Good morning po. Dinig po yung music, sir. Dinig po. Iris was born from a good heart, a public servant. Truly his blood runs to the service of our society, that we should imitate wholeheartedly. A gift for the younger generation. Today is forever the reason we bind together, promoting academic standard of excellence in the mission of our institution. Today is forever the reason we bind together, to be responsible and disciplined citizens of a great nation. Together we stay as one community, forever we will be. We are committed to stay serving humanity, together as one community. We implore the aid of our Almighty God. He has preamble say we will be united amidst diversity. We can build just human society. Together we stay as one community with one heart, one soul, one goal. We are committed to stay serving humanity. Iris to hail to thee. We are committed to stay serving humanity. Iris, the hail to thee. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Professor Celestial. Now, it is my honor to introduce to you our CBPA host for the day. C for caring, B for beautiful, P for person, and A in academe. Let us give a warm welcome to Professor Hernan Oliveros together with Dr. Anna Marie Victoria Milas.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Faculty Development 2021 Magnifying Outcome-Based Education by Dr. Alexander Moron, DepEd Education Program Supervisor. How are you, partner? Okay, I think Dr. Milas is on her way. So as we are about to begin, we would like to seek your cooperation upon completing the series of webinars and write-ups. Kindly focus your attention to avoid interruption. We hope that everyone is present because attendance is recorded and you will be receiving your e-certificate after accomplishing the evaluation. Please allow me to read the reminders on conference etiquette. Please mute your microphone when you are not speaking. Do not interrupt other speakers. If you have any questions, you may send an instant message. Choose a quiet location with stable internet connectivity and dress up properly. So I show you the series of webinars and write-ups for this long week. May I see the presentation? Before we proceed to the series of webinars, please allow me to acknowledge our President, Dr. Edita P. Pilya, our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Frederick Pena, and our Dean, Dr. Willie Ogapasin, and our guest speaker for this morning, Dr. Alexander Moron, and to the faculty of the College of Business and Public Administration, together with the staff of IRIS and the students. So here's the series of webinars and write-ups. Date 1, August 31, 2021, Magnifying Outcome-Based Education by Dr. Alexander M. Moron Jr. Day 2, September 1, 2021, New Approaches for Online Learning by Professor Rui Lawrence Reyes. Day 3, September 2, Expanded Learning Opportunities Together Workshop by Professor Edrid Rodil, together with Professor Janelle Villanueva, who's going to discuss structuring assessment tools. And last, day 4, September 3, Intensifying Research in Business by Dr. Willie Ogapasin, together with Dr. Georgia Ramirez to discuss with wellness and wholeness of life. Yes. Please allow me to discuss the program objectives. Slide, please. First, to magnify the learning modalities and teaching methodology relevant to the promotion of highest academic excellence. Secondly, to adopt the current trends, flexibility, and globalization of the learning outcome delivery. Lastly, to enhance the skills and good attitude towards wellness and wholeness of the faculty. May we invite everyone to please put ourselves in the holy presence of God as we begin our undertakings, having an opening prayer prepared by Iris Interfaith Services, headed by Professor Ronald Doroteo with Villa Maria Scholars.
Our loving God, We praise you and glorify you in gratefulness as giver of our life and builder of our community. As we gather on this beautiful moment of being one in your presence, we ask you for the grace to be one in promoting the highest standard of academic excellence by practicing the high professional business standard. We ask you to bless us with the gift of love. May we become worthy of your trust, become instruments of joy, peace, and hope to everyone, and become channel of your compassion in serving people. Finally, we ask you to bless our diamond anniversary celebration. May this celebration will bring us into healing of our land, may lead us into restoration of our faith and righteousness of our nation. This we ask in your mighty name. Amen.
Okay. To sing with us our national anthem, may we call on Professor Evelyn Celestial, Chief Cultural Affairs Services.
Sabay-sabay po natin awitin ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kasi, ba't sila, nakaano ba sila? Ba't sila nagawa nila?
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silawan.
Pero kung sa laptop ko yun,
Alab ng puso,
sa dibdib mo'y buhay, lupang hinirang, duyan ka
Gawin
ng
ka ng
maging,
maging
tamang
lulong.
sikap pasisip, sa dagat at bundok, sa sili at sa langit mong bugao, may dalagang tula at awit sa paglaya.
Kami na si Mama, may required background ko, hindi ko alam gagawin. Hindi makaya ng papa mo.
Mo'y tagumpay na
nagniningning, ang bituin at arangal, kailan pa may di magdidilim, lupa ng araw na atit pagsinta, tuy ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Celestial. May we call on Dr. Ana Victoria Miles to read Iris Philosophy, Vision, Mission, and Objectives.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Today would be a great day for us to share our energy, our efforts and skills for this endeavor. Okay, this is our Iris Philosophy. As a state college, Eulogio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology believes that education is not an area of knowledge that can be arrogated unto itself by one profession, nor it is a division separate and distinct from the society and the time in which it flourishes. It is a pledge of knowledge and skills applied to the economic, social, and moral development of self-actualized and productive citizenry. Our mission is turn out vocationally, technically, technologically, and scientifically trained graduates who will be economically productive, self-sufficient, effective, responsible, and disciplined citizen of the Philippines. Iris Vision. Iris is envisioned to be a center of excellence in trades, business, arts, science, and technology education. The Iris objectives: strive for academic excellence in instruction, research, extension, and production through accreditation. Provide appropriate and continuing faculty and staff development programs. Provide and maintain appropriate technologies, instructional facilities, materials, and equipment. Produce quality graduates who are globally competitive to demand the needs of business and industry. attain university status through unity, solidarity, and teamwork.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Miles. To formally start the series of webinars and write-ups, may we call on our college then, Dr. Willie Ogapasin, a virtual clap.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Hernan. To our beloved IRIS President, Dr. Edita V. Pilio, our distinguished resource speaker, Dr. Alexander Moron, my dear CBPA family, a greetings of hope, love, and peace to everyone. Every year, the College of Business and Public Administration is conducting a faculty development program for upcoming school year. This school year 2021-2022, our theme is Revitalizing the Virtual Teaching and Learning in New Normal and Beyond. It is all about revisiting the learning modalities and teaching methodology relevant to the promotion of highest academic excellence. As we adopt the current trends, flexibility, and globalization of learning outcome delivery, and enhance the skills, good attitude towards wellness and wholeness of each faculty members of the college in this so-called new normal. The shift to distance learning last school year 2021-2022. And with that, they have tremendously become adaptive and proactive. As the new school year approaches and the years ahead, it is a challenge that the CBPA family must digital technology that would establish, connect, cooperate, and collaborate at a different level towards a rich learning environment. Our college is very grateful to have a esteemed speaker who is blessed to share his expertise to us. On behalf of the CBPA family, our sincerest appreciation to Dr. Alexander Moron, our resource speaker for today. Also, we would like to thank the IRIS administration for the valuable support to this worthy endeavor. Again, welcome to the 5-day CBPA Faculty Development Program. A fruitful and productive week ahead of us.
Thank you, Dr. Willie Ogapasin. To give us an inspirational message today, we are pleased to welcome our IRIS President, Dr. Edita B. Pilio. Okay, may
Good
we call on?
morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Ma'am President.
Yes, good morning.
Morning po.
Good morning.
For almost 1 year and a half, we had been experiencing this pandemic. So many lives were lost, separation from our family when we are afflicted with the virus, unemployment due to business closures, mental health challenges, and unwanted isolation. Likewise, the educational system is also affected. Hardships in the delivery of instruction is felt by the faculty and students. I'm so glad that the College of Business and Public Administration, through the leadership of Dr. Willie Gapasin, the Dean, with the support of the faculty, came up with this webinar workshop for faculty development entitled Revitalizing the Virtual Teaching and Learning in New Normal and Beyond. The topics are very significant and the objectives are very meaningful. I would like to quote the objectives: to revisit the learning modalities and teaching methodology relevant to the promotion of highest academic excellence, adapt the current trends, flexibility and globalization of the learning outcome delivery, enhance the skills, good attitude towards wellness and wholeness. I'm sure that after this 5 days webinar workshop, the faculty of CBPA will be more prepared to face the challenges of educational system under the new normal. I have noticed that one of your speakers is Dr. Alexander Moron. I'm so glad that the graduate school was able to produce graduates who are occupying higher position in the Department of Education. Thank you, Dr. Moron, for sharing your knowledge and expertise to our faculty. So again, congratulations to the College of Business and Public Administration. God bless everyone.
Thank you so much, Ma'am President.
Thank you po.
To introduce the first speaker and the rationale of this webinar and write-up, I will call on Dr. Charlene Escario, HRDM Program Chair.
And for our guest speaker for today, let me introduce to you a currently education program supervisor in learning resource management and development system, a graduate of Philippine Normal University with a BSE Mathematics major. He completed academic requirements in a Master of Arts in Education, major in a measurement in evaluation. He is also presently a part-time lecturer of St. Francis College of Assisi Bacoor and Las Piñas campus, and also a part-time lecturer of Bearer of Light and Wisdom Colleges Incorporated. Let me introduce to you our guest speaker, Dr. Alexander M. Moron Jr. And then for our rationale of our seminar today, and for the 5 days program, the critical mean will then be capable to train and equip students for significant and prioritizing careers in the global market. There are more than 50% or 70,000 higher education institutions where faculty needs to upgrade their qualifications and competencies in order to improve the quality of teaching in our higher education. So the vast majority of the students in higher educations are being taught by faculty who possess no more than the level of qualification for which they are studying. The law teacher qualification inevitably leads to low standards of learning achievement among the students. The quality of education depends largely on the qualification and competencies of the faculty in the view of faculty's vital role in influencing education's outcome. The Commissioner in Higher Education requires that teachers of higher education's level must have at least a master's degree in the fields in which they teach and a faculty development program. A faculty development program is a critical factor towards building a strong foundation in an educational system to ensure a quality education and a previous and a current studies wherein faculty development has always surfaced as priority concern. Our nation cannot compete with the neighboring countries that they are now moving towards offering cutting-edge programs and technologies unless we invest in creating a pool of experts in our academic institutions. So these are the reasons why we are currently having our 5 days faculty development program. Just sit back, relax, and have fun learning all throughout this 5 days development program. Again, good morning to everyone.
Okay, magandang buhay po sa lahat. Naririnig po ako?
Yes, Doc. Loud and
Okay,
clear.
good
Yes,
morning
sir.
po. Good morning po sa bumubuo ng training ng Faculty Development Program headed by Dean Dr. Willie Gapasin and the rest of the faculty members who are hopefully at the end of 5 days, you will be able to revisit and regain. Okay, we have to empty our cups because a new dimension, a new landscape of education is being provided to our tertiary educators or learners. Okay, and to start with my presentation, I will be sharing my first part of the presentation. Okay. My assigned topic is all about magnifying. Okay. And then when we talk about magnifying, we are going to rethink the outcome-based education that we have. And that is the mandate of the higher or the Commission of Higher Education. Rethinking outcome-based education. Now, why do we have to deal with the outcome-based education? There are different issues concerning with the higher education or the tertiary. The first one is the accountability towards students. It is in our understanding that we are the second parent of our learners, okay? And then although in the higher education we are following or we are in accordance to the academic freedom, okay? And we instill the concept of understanding na okay, this is the syllabus, this is the syllabi, and then you have to work with it so that you can able to master the essential competencies. But as educator in the higher institution, we have to be accountable of our product. Therefore, the outcome-based education is provided by the high or being imposed by the higher education, satisfying the needs of the industry. We have to look into consideration what are the needed, okay, product. What are the needed product that will be the manpower of the industry. That's why as higher education is, we are looking into what are the product or what is the type of the product that we are producing so that this product or this particular learners be what be engaged in in a certain industry that this industry are looking for, especially the soft skills and the hard skills, maintaining the academic standards. Okay, the iris or Eugelio Amang Rodriguez is already an ISO, and even the Department of the or the College of Public and Business Administration do have its own standard. And therefore, we have to sustain that standard. We are not going to produce a certain learner that is not competent, that is not relevant to the needs of the industry. That's why we have to uphold and we have to sustain this standard. Okay, and then accountable to grant organization because we want to establish a different programs aside from the existing programs that we have. And then the accreditation, it is not only that the school be accredited, but the program itself should be accredited. And in the context of competitiveness in the higher education, although we are a state university or there are too many state university offering the same program, we really have to be competitive. That's why the outcome-based education is introduced. Aside from that, there are also issues concerning with teaching and learning. That's why outcome-based education is provided. Number one, student intake, the faculty, the teaching process, assessment, the subjects being offered, and the resources being utilized or being used by the teacher so that the delivery of instruction will be provided. These are some issues concerning with teaching and learning, and the other speakers are going to provide input about the new normal or the landscape of the new instruction in the delivery of the competencies intended for a particular course or program. And then, why outcome-based education? Because we want to fulfill the requirements of the Commission of Higher Education because that is the mandate. Okay? Then, accreditation organization. And then the industry-related skills that our learners or our products are going to incorporate or being utilized when they are in the field. Therefore, these are the following issues and concern why outcome-based education was introduced in the higher education as well as in the basic education. Now, what is outcome-based education? Actually, you already have the idea of this definition or concept. Now, let me just revisit or recall. It is really important that we have to recall because the concept about retention is essential, even we are teaching in the higher education. Okay, what is outcome-based education? It is a comprehensive approach to organization and operating an educational system. Why? Because we are looking into what what will be the skills or competencies that our learners must able to master and must produce or being applied in the context of reality or in the field. That's why outcomes are a clear learning results that we want the students to demonstrate. And as educator or as a professor or instructor in a certain subject, it is really important that the subject per se will tell us or will tell the learners what should be the result that the teacher and the subject wants to have in relation to the final development of the learners. Okay? And as stated, it is the embodiment that reflects the learner's competence in using content, information, ideas, and tools successfully. That's why we are dealing with the outcome-based education. Now, using the outcome-based education, we focuses on learning or student learning by using learning outcome statements, okay? Because we do have the teacher statement, okay? These are the what we call the traditional statement being written in our course syllabi or syllabus. The purpose of this course is to let our learners, di ba ganun yung pagkakasulat natin, demonstrate, introduce, okay? Those are what we call the teacher statement, okay? Teacher directed or teacher-centered statement. Now, in the outcome-based education, it should be learner outcome statement. They have to utilize instead of introduce, utilize, okay? Instead of demonstrate, they have to compare. Therefore, when we talk about the outcome-based education, the focus here is that providing the learning outcomes statement to make explicit what the student is expected to be able to know, understand, or do. Provide learning activities which help the student to reach these outcomes and assess the extent to which the student meets the outcome using explicit assessment criteria. And at the end of this 5-day seminar, there is really recalibration of what had already entailed in our mind and our practice as well. Now, it is an approach that focuses and organizes the educational system around what is essential for all learners to know, value, and be able to achieve. Okay? Therefore, the OBE addresses the hard skills, the soft skills, the teaching learning activities, and the assessment tasks. Okay. What do you want the student to learn? Basically, that is written in our course syllabus. The purpose or the aim of the subject. Why do you want them to learn it? Because we want to have the soft skills, okay? Because in the context of field or in the industry, it is not only important that the product or the learners that we produce are what we call mentally equipped, but we also have to develop learners these particular soft skills to be creative, to be resourceful, okay, to have what we call this the honesty. These are what we call the soft skills that some of the teachers forget those concepts because we are just entailing with the intelligence of our learners. Yan. How can you best help students learn? That is the teaching and learning activities. It is really important that as teacher, we have to utilize and incorporate the instructional approaches in the delivery of our instruction. Although we do have the academic freedom, lagi kong minimension yan sa higher education. I am also teaching learners from the higher education as, my part-time and additional income. Now, it is really important that we are incorporating effective or instructional approaches in the delivery of our instruction. It is not just sitting at the back and listening while the learners are discussing the report. It is also important that we have to really look into what particular instructional materials or instructional strategies will be utilized in the delivery of our competency that we want to achieve and we want to attain to our learners. And how are you going to know if they learned? Okay, that is in the form of assessment task. Is it we are just going to utilize the concept of a paper pencil examination or the performance-based assessment or the portfolio-based assessment? It is really important that as a teacher, we have to embrace the mandate of the department or the higher education about the concept of the outcome-based education. Okay, from hard to soft skills. Actually, this is already incorporated in the institutional intended learning outcome. This is the goal, okay? The goal of the institution. Okay. Now, achieving professionalism in family business. For example, this is under the context of the program. The College of Public and Business Administration. For example, what do you want the students to learn when they enrolled in the college? Achieving professionalism in family business, deciding whether to enter the family business, developing family members. These are just examples that I have. This is in accordance to the intended learning outcome of the College of Entrepreneurship. Okay. Now, what about in your college? You also have your program intended learning outcomes. Okay. And this is the response to the question, what do you want the students to learn? That's why always go back to the program or the college intended learning outcomes that we would like to produce. Okay, and the industry are going to accept because this is in connection to the industry needs or the industry wants, and then the program being aligned to the needs of the industry. Kaya we always have to go back. Kapag tayo ay pumasok, okay, once we enter in a certain college, we have to know first what is the vision, what is the mission of this particular college. Kasi baka tayo ay mawala doon sa intention ng college. That's why we always look into consideration what is the mission or the goal. Katulad din naman yan, what do you want the students to learn? Okay? What do you want from the college that you would like to produce? Yan. And then, why do you want them to learn? What are the graduate attributes? Creativity, problem solving, critical thinker ba sila? Decision maker ba sila? Are they going to um, are they going to incorporate the ability to be accountable and to be sociable? Sila ba ay madaling makasundo? Okay? What about the ability to speak? Yung communication, the ability to use the information communication technology. Now, those are what we called why do you want them to learn? Yan. And how can you help students para ma-achieve natin itong goal ng ating college? Therefore, how are teachers going to incorporate the delivery of instruction? Dapat visible yung instructional approach sa atin. Kailan tayo gumagamit ng lecture method? When is the right time that we have to use discovery approach? When is the right time that we have to utilize cooperative learning? Yan. Somehow, baka sabihin natin, ay sa basic education lang naman yan. Actually, hindi. The mere fact that we are in the field of teaching, okay, education, definitely, we really have to adhere the concept of pedagogical approaches. And how will you know what they have learned? Therefore, we talk about assessment. Diba? We are not going to end our discussion without assessing our learners. Parang sa inyo, after my discussion, you are going to evaluate me, how effective I am, how efficient I am. Ganun yung konsepto. After we deliver instruction to our learners, we really have to look into consideration, na-master ba nila yung competency or na-master ba nila yung intended na objective for that particular session? Therefore, you really have to consider how are you going to assess their mastery. Okay, hindi yung after that, wala na. After reporting, wala na. Okay? Parang walang nangyari. How are we going to really assess? Parang sa atin, sa college, after graduation, we look into the concept of tracers. Di ba? Nagkakaroon tayo ng tracers. Nasaan na ba itong mga estudyanteng graduate sa atin? Are they aligned with the chosen program or the diploma that they receive? Yung program ba nila na kinuha nila is aligned to their profession in the current field? Okay, that is how are we going to determine if, okay, if learning really takes in or takes place. Now, what are the principles underlying with OBE? This is just a recall. Number one, clarity of focus. Therefore, as educator, we always start with what are the programs, what are the intended learning outcomes, what are the subjects being offered, who are going to teach the subjects. And then as a teacher, tayo naman ay nagtuturo, therefore, ano yung ating dapat gawin. Therefore, under the clarity of focus, we have to consider what are the course intended learning outcomes. Ano ba yung intended learning outcomes ng ating subject na tinuturo? And how are we going to execute so that this intended learning outcomes will be visible to our learners at the end of the semester? And how are we going to teach these intended learning competencies? Yan. And then what are the resources? Okay? Kaya dapat ang focus natin ay dapat na-attain natin our objective. It is not just accepting it is not just accepting the subject kasi kinakailangan natin. But we have to consider yung alignment. Is there alignment with our bachelor's degree or our experiences or related educational experiences to the subject being offered? Gusto kong magturo ng marketing, but you don't have the skills or competencies acquired or required in the given subject. Therefore, there is no what we call clarity of focus kasi you are not going to, you are not or you cannot able to provide knowledge to the learners, and you cannot really achieve the intended learning outcomes of the given course since there is no alignment between your competency and the competency requirement of the subject. Kasi karamihan, yan yung nagiging problema. Even in the basic education, because of teacher registered qualified applicants, although we do not want not to accept this particular applicants kasi qualified naman sila. Kaso nga lang, the alignment of the subject to be taught at saka yung bachelor's degree, hindi align. For example, the school needs teachers who are going to teach edukasyon sa pagpapakatao, and the available resources ay math teachers. Therefore, hindi aligned because the competency acquired by that particular teacher is not aligned to the needs of the competency of the subject. Kaya dito sa clarity of focus, bilang guro at ikaw na yung nagtuturo ng subject, you really have to go back. Ano ba yung intended learning outcomes? Paano siya ituturo? What are the specific topics na dapat nating ituro? What are the resources available? Yan. Okay, second one is the high expectations. Sabi doon, babaan mo yung expectations mo. Definitely no. Because this is the standard or the expectations that we have. The expectations that we have is aligned to the expectation of the program, which is aligned to the expectation of the college, which is also aligned to the expectation of the institution. Kaya hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na, okay, lower your standard, lower your expectations from the learners kasi our learners are different, are diverse in nature. Pero ito ay higher education na eh. This is a diploma. Diploma or what we call industry-related competencies. Therefore, if the expectation of the program is not met by the students, therefore, hindi po pwedeng ang program ang mag-adjust sa estudyante. Kasi at the very beginning or at the start, lagi naman nating iisipin na hindi naman hiningi ng program na mag-enroll yung estudyante sa program na iyon. The learner per se, visualize na kaya niya. Therefore, whatever be the expectations intended for that particular program na ini-expect, therefore, dapat ma-adhere yun. Hindi yung lower your standards, lower your expectations. Bilang isang individual at bilang isang guro, whatever be the subject requirement, therefore, that learners have to, what? Have to follow. Hindi po pwedeng babaan natin yung standard. Kasi kapag binaan mo yung standard, what will happen? We cannot what? We cannot be competitive or our learners will not be competitive compared to other graduates. Kasi ang industry naman kasi ay hindi bumababa ng standard. Actually, sinusustain nila o tinataasan pa nila yung expectations, the skills needed to their to the resources, the manpower. And when we talk about high expectation, it is really important na kinakailangan i-identify natin yung mga estudyante. Kaya nga 'di ba, we do have what we call requirements bago sila pumasok. Oh, yan. Then, the third one is that expanded opportunity and then designing down. Yan, binabalikan lang natin. Okay? Expanded opportunity is new and different teaching approaches and learning activities. Kasi nga, the teacher have the concept on how he or she will able to deliver the instruction and how this course intended learning outcomes be visible to the learners. Siya kasi yung actor at saka actress ng silid-aralan. Ay, ng silid-aralan. Okay, o ng classroom. That's why it is really important that bilang isang guro, alam niya kung anong gagawin niya. Kaya nga, it is really important that teachers should not do not serve as a middleman between the learner and the professor or the instructor. Kasi ang instructor ang may kaalaman kung paano niya i-deliver effectively and efficiently yung course. Kaya dapat walang nangingialam in between. Kasi what will happen then is that yung opportunity for the teacher to help the learners and to meet the course intended learning outcomes ay hindi efficiently and it will not be effectively delivered kasi merong middleman. Oo. Kahit naman sa isang organization, kahit anong organization, lagi naman talagang merong mga usisero at usisera. May mga nangingialam as if they know everything. But as educator, we really have to adhere the professionalism. Yaan. Kung yung subject na iyan ay si Ginoong Santa Maria ang nagtuturo, hayaan natin. We have to respect the academic freedom. Okay? On how he or she able to deliver the competency. Since alam naman niya yung instructional approaches. Yan. At saka pina-follow naman niya yung outcome-based education. Designing down, it's always up to you kung paano, kung back ba yan, uh, back down, or is it back down or move up design ang approach natin? Is it the indirect instruction or the direct instruction? It's always up to how the syllabus or how the subjects being delivered to the learners. Kung minsan we are informing our learners na this is the product that we would like to have, or the subject, ito yung kinakailangan maging output. Sinasabi ka agad. There is also a case wherein sa huli na. Yan. It's always important that teacher should have this ability kung ano yung paraan, how he or she able to design, plan out the whole process of the delivery of a certain subject. Okay. Now, OBE typologies. Ito yun. The OBE typologies, we have traditional OBE. The instructional strategy being utilized by the teacher is the direct instruction or explicit teaching. Yan. Ang mode of assessment naman niya ay summative. This is a type of a teacher wherein he doesn't want to have other types of assessment. Paper pencil ang ginagamit niya, or prelim examination, midterm examination, final examination, all about paper pencil examination. Okay, wherein it focuses on the cognitive dimension of the learners. Ito yung traditional OBE. Pero yan ay OBE pa rin naman, outcome-based education. At sabi nga natin, whatever be the assessment and the instruction that you are going to utilize sa pagtuturo, it's always in accordance to the principle underlying with the teacher's perspective at saka yung mandate ng CHED about the outcome-based education. Now, aside from that, we also have transitional. Ito naman yung gumagamit ng mga recitation. Okay? Aside from the summative examination, merong formative examination, asking question during the instruction, providing the pretest before the instruction, okay? Or along the way when instruction is being delivered, nagkakaroon ng pagtatanong, and then there is always follow-up. This is what we call transitional OBE. Pero hindi pa rin nawawala yung summative assessment, yung unit test, yung weekly test, yung prelim, yung midterm, yung finals. Okay? But the difference is that when we talk about traditional, we are talking about direct instruction. Content-based ang ating pinag-uusapan. In the higher education kasi, pwede ka kasing content. Wala na mga palapalabok. Direct. For example, you are asking the learner to report a certain topic. That is what we call direct instruction. The learner are going to provide information about that particular topic. But in the context of indirect, content-based din naman siya, but the manner of execution and delivery of content is differs. We do have the indirect instruction. Yan. Kumbaga, we do have from sa direct kasi we do have what we call this the general to specific, but for the indirect we do have the specific to general. Okay? And then in the basic education, we always consider the instructional design under the concept of the lesson exemplar or lesson plan. Diba sa teaching or sa College of Education, we are always following the basic or the essential parts of the instruction. Number 1, meron munang motivation. Number 2, we do have the analysis of the motivation or the activities. Then we go with the lesson proper. Now sa college kasi, somehow we can have to, or we proceed with the presentation of the concept. At acceptable naman yan. Kasi sa higher education kasi, our main goal is to produce competitive and industry-driven uh, learners. Yan, or graduates. Kaya pwede tayong mag-focus agad sa content kung mapupuna natin yan. Yan. And then we also have what we call transformational. This is a type of an outcome-based education wherein the mode of assessment is in the form of portfolio-based assessment. Yan. Hindi ka lamang gumagawa ng summative, hindi ka lamang nagtatanong sa mga estudyante during the delivery of instruction, but rather you are also asking the learners to, provide portfolio at the end of the semester. Yan. At sa portfolio naman, sinasabi naman natin that we do have different types of portfolio-based assessment. And what about instructional strategy? This is what we call independent. Kaya nga, sa new normal, we do have what we call the modular learners. But higher education provided a multiple approach in the delivery of instruction. It can be online, it can be blended, okay? It can be purely modular. Yan. Now, in this case, yung transformational OBE, ito yung mga modular type of learners. They are what we call the self-directed individuals, independent. That's why in the concept of assessment, portfolio ang ating pinapagawa. But portfolio can be collaborative. Pwede maging collaborative kasi. Now, on that case, independent pa rin naman, experiential pa rin, tsaka interactive yung konsepto natin on the transformational OBA because we let the learners think, visualize what they really want to submit as a document. Okay? Under the concept of portfolio-based assessment. Now, what about in teaching? Now, learners can be enrolled in a modular approach, or it can be online, but in the form of asynchronous. Okay, he or she will not attend the online synchronous, the virtual, just like this one, but instead he or she will be learning by his own pace using the video assisted instruction produced by the teacher or provided links by the teacher. Yun yung tinatawag natin transformational OBE. And whatever be the type of OBE that you are going to use, outcome-based education pa rin yan. And what is really important is that the intended learning outcomes should be the one that we are going to see at the end as a result of our delivery of instruction. Yan. Now, eto na tayo ngayon. Phases of disciplinary offering rethinking. Actually, what I am going to show here is an example. Kasi nga, actually, I am not connected to Iris. I am connected to St. Francis. Perhaps we may have different process or procedures in the crafting or the process or the procedures in the context of writing the outcome-based education in a certain college. Pero what is important here is that we may have different ways and processes in the crafting or writing or developing the outcome-based or incorporating the outcome-based in the course or in the program. Pareho lang yung konsepto. Now, the phase 1 is renewing the existing program. Okay. Now we have the institutional intended learning outcome, the IILO. Yan. Ang eskwelahan naman, Eugelio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology ay naka-mandate na yan kasi nasa constitution na yan. Kaya hindi mo na pwedeng baguhin pa unless there is what we call the revisiting of the institutional intended learning outcomes in accordance to the ISO. Yan. O kaya naman, in accordance to the accreditation requirement, nagbabago. Okay? But somehow, ni-revisit lang natin. And then, the IILO should be the one that guide the college. Okay? The program intended learning outcome. Dapat naka-align lagi. Ano yung mission vision ng college? It should be linked into or aligned to the institutional mission vision or the goal. Yan. And then, the program, for example, business administration na program, ay na department, public administration, entrepreneurship. Yan. Therefore, whatever be the program, it should be aligned to the college intention. Yan. Ibig sabihin, tawag dito, connected siya. There is what we call alignment. And then, yung subject offering. Okay. Ibig sabihin, whatever be the program, therefore, the outcomes or the learning competencies that we have should be incorporated to the offering of the subjects. Now, we do have the existing program goals, reformulated program goals, the program competencies, the graduate attributes, yun yung 21st century skills, yung creativity, yung na-discuss kanina. This one. Ito yung graduate attributes. At ang IRIS ay may sarili ding graduate attributes. May sarili rin yan. Competence, commitment, yan, honesty, others. Yan. Okay, then we do have the program outcomes and the course offered. Now, there are numbers. Ibig sabihin, ano ang dapat mauna? Yan. Okay, now for the first one, we have the graduate attributes. For the College of Public and Business Administration, you have your intended learning outcomes that you want to achieve. Meaning, if the learners already graduate from the College of Public and Business Administration, ano yung dapat nakikita sa kanila na soft skills? Aside from the hard skills. Kasi equipped sila sa hard skills. What about sa soft skills? Yung way of thinking, way of working, tools for working, skills for living. Skills for living in the world. Now, these are what we call the soft skills. Okay? The soft skills na may kinalaman doon sa aking binigay kanina. The 21st century skills. For example, ways of thinking. The ways of thinking are the following. We have creativity, problem solver, critical thinker, decision maker. Yan. Now, these are what we call the institutional intended learning outcomes or the college intended learning outcomes. Ano yung gusto nyong attributes na makita sa mga estudyante? Okay? Now, basically, hindi naman sa lahat ng pagkakataon yung subject can offer or can produce these 21st century skills. Hindi naman sa lahat ng pagkakataon. Okay? Not all. Now, yan yung pinakauna. At hindi natin kinakailangan pang baguhin pa yung graduate attributes kasi that is already framed in the college program. Yan. And then, for example, gusto natin balikan, we have time. Now, we can have the program mapping. Yung subjects being offered, for example, business administration. Nakikita ba sa business ethics na subject yung creativity? Okay? Nakikita ba sa subject na business ethics yung tinatawag nating problem solver or problem solving? Creative thinker or creative thinking? Ito yun siya. Not all subjects can, sabi ko nga dito, hindi lahat ng subjects can offer these 21st century skills. Yan. Kaya nga, etong program mapping na ginagawa is that recalling or revisiting if the subjects offered somehow show Okay? One or two of the 21st century skills. But the totality of the subjects offered should provide the 21st century soft skills. Yan. Ito yung mga subjects. Yan. And then, we go with this one example. Institutional intended learning outcome, competence. What is now the graduate attribute? Decision maker or decision making, or in the form of scholarship, competence. Paano natin masasabi that competent ang isang graduate natin? Therefore, meron siyang scholarship offered sa industry kapag siya ay lumabas na. O kaya naman magaling siya sa decision making. Yan. What about the program intended learning outcome? Promote a culture that values academic rigor and apply theory and skills to a real world and professional settings relevant to their discipline. Actually, this is stated sa inyong college program. Yan. O kaya naman sa specific na department program. For example, public administration. Ano yung program intended niya? Is the program intended aligned to the graduate attribute and aligned to the institutional intended learning outcome? Yun siya. Yan. We are not going to to revisit kasi it was already visited and it was already introduced during the accreditation. Yan. Sinasabi ko lamang. Yan. Okay, now what is the program intended learning outcomes? It answered the question, what is the purpose of the program? For example, business administration, ano ba ang kanyang purpose? What should the ideal graduate of this program be able to know, do, or value upon completion? Yan. Kaya nga sinasabi natin kanina, if we want to have graduate who are good in decision making or can able to grant scholarship, therefore, the intended institutional learning outcome being stated na competence, di ba? The graduates are competent. Ibig sabihin, yung competence ay visible kasi yung graduate, ang graduate na pinoproduce ninyo ay may kakayahan na maka-avail ng scholarship. They can be offered a certain scholarship by the industry that they are working. O kaya naman, nakikita natin na yung ating graduate or the graduates of the college is competitive. Nasaan na ba sila? Nasa top management na ba sila? Yan. Katulad ng graduate school, okay? A majority of the graduate students are in the top management level of the school. Naging school head. O kaya naman, nandun na ngayon sa division office o sa regional office. The graduate of IRIS is specifically sa aming time, ilan na kami ang nasa division level tsaka sa regional level. Others are the school head ng school. Kaya nga, yung competence na konsepto that is written as the institutional intended learning outcomes ay visible at nakikita sa graduates ng IRIS. Yan. And then, after that, okay, you do have your program goals. For example, this is the program goals of the St. Francis for the entrepreneurship. The BS entrepreneurship program aims to develop highly motivated individuals, okay, who are not just able to scan the environment and identify business opportunity, but can mobilize the necessary resources. Ito yung halimbawa ng program goals. At we, as a part-time instructor of St. Francis, lagi yung sinasabi sa amin, what is the intended or what is the goal of the program before we provide instruction to our learners. For example, ako ay nagtuturo ng mathematics in the modern world. Therefore, dapat yung aking subject ay may alignment yung competency intended learning outcomes or the course intended learning outcomes somehow ay dapat merong attributory doon sa program goals. Not just merely discussing the subject, that not just merely teaching the competency without knowing the application or the integration of the subject to the program goals of the learners. Kaya nga 'di ba, iba-iba ang atake ng pagtuturo. Although for example on my case, nagtuturo ako ng mathematics sa teacher education or sa education department at saka sa business, specifically sa entrepreneurship na major. Ang atake sa pagtuturo sa mathematics in the modern world sa educators ay iba doon sa entrepreneurship na estudyante. Magkaiba. The application per se is different. Yun yung ibig sabihin natin when we are dealing with the outcome based. Kasi there should be alignment. There should be alignment of the delivery of instruction as well as the content or the cognitive dimension of learning among learners. Yan. Okay, and then from the program intended, okay, kung sakasakaling ganito yan, ito yung program intended learning outcomes natin, therefore, yung subject. Ano yung mga subjects na i-offer? For example, business administration. Ano-ano ba ang mga subjects na dapat niyang kuhain? Yan naman ay nakasulat na. Okay, kaya nga yung ating mga tawag dito, curriculum coordinator, sila yung nakakaalam. Yan. Even the registrar also know it. Okay, now the program competencies, eto naman yun, sabihin naman natin ay, ano ba yung competencies at saka yung ano yung outcome? Pag sinabing competencies, definitely this is the concept about the applied skills and knowledge that enable people to successfully perform. For example, doon sa binigay ng CHED. For example, ay nandoon sa CHED, sa particular subject, nandoon na yung iba't ibang competencies na dapat ma-execute, maituro. That is already written in the manual of the higher education as to the topology of education for higher education. For example, marketing research, nakalagay na yung tinatawag nating competencies. Okay, it was already written. The competencies were already written in the topology or the manual of the higher education. At ito yung kinakailangan nating maituro sa mga estudyante. But the thing here is that the program competencies should be translated into course outcome. Okay, course outcome. That's why we do have the behavioral terms, katulad ng discuss, recall, describe, explain, label. Kasi sa competency, for example, introduce. That is what we call teacher statement, teacher-centered statement. Introduce. Sino ba mag-i-introduce? Di syempre si teacher. That's why the competencies written by the Department of Education, the Commission of Higher Education rather, ay naka-state sa kung ano ang dapat gawin ni teacher. But in the syllabus that we prepared, okay, or the syllabi that we are preparing, ang nakalagay doon sa ating syllabi ay hindi program competency, but rather that is what we call the course intended learning outcome. Tina-translate natin yung competencies into outcome, behavioral. Instead na teacher-centered statement, ibig sabihin, instruction para sa teacher na dapat ito. Yung kanyang gawin, ang ginagawa naman natin ay ano ang dapat na maging ang mga bata. That's why we do have the outcomes. That's why we are using the behavioral terminologies, katulad ng discussed, recall, describe, yan, explain, okay, mga verb ito. Yan. Okay? Example, demonstrate understanding of the use of appropriate methods for interacting sensitively, effectively, and professionally. Ngayon, yung demonstrate understanding, gagawin natin into a learning outcomes. Instead of stating in terms of teacher-centered, it can be describe, compare and contrast, identify. We are going to break into a smaller dimension or smaller pieces of a general competency. Now, um, aside from that, pag sinabi natin definitely, ito yung tinatawag nating content standard. Sa basic education, competency is written in the form of content standard. The content standard or the competency is the combination of all the topics of a certain unit or chapter. Sinusulat natin yung ating competency, okay? Kung sakasakaling wala, di ba? Walang available sa topology or the manual for higher education na version ang isang guro. Therefore, yung tinatawag nating competency, this is written in the form of writing all the necessary topics in a certain chapter or unit. Kaya you really have to break down into a smaller pieces kasi we cannot deliver in one session the competency, but rather we are going to break it down into a smaller pieces. Kaya magiging intended outcome siya. Instead of demonstrate na teacher-oriented statement or teacher-centered statement, it should be outcome-based statement. That is describe. Who are going to describe? Not the teacher, but the learner. Yun yung pinagkaiba. Okay? Kaya nga, doon sa competency, lagi ang nakasulat na, ay teacher statement yan. Kaya ngayon, baguhin natin. It should be a what? It should be outcome-based statement. Ano ang dapat gawin ng bata after? Yan. Describe the demographic trends, compare and contrast, identify. And later on, magbibigay rin ako ng mga iba pang mga halimbawa na pwede natin gamitin as behavioral term. Aside from describe, compare and contrast, identify. Now, common to all programs in all types of school para at least mas maunawaan natin. Ito yung tinatawag natin program, articulate and discuss the latest development in the specific field of practice. Ito ay common. Ibig sabihin, sa lahat ng eskwelahan, nakikita ito o makikita ito. Yan, sa kanilang syllabus. Yan, articulate and discuss. But actually, kung minsan, kapag accreditation purposes, ang syllabus natin, ang kapal. Kasi lahat ay sinusulat. Okay, dapat visible. Dapat nakasulat yung the graduates have the ability to articulate, okay, program objectives to, ay program outcomes. Yan. This is available. Ito naman, for example, specific business and management. For example, business administration. Ito naman yun. Ito ang dapat. Yan, common to the general field. Example, business and management. Pumunta ka man sa ibang eskwelahan, makikita mo ito. And then, what about kapag specific na yung majorship? Yan. Pag specific ng majorship, meron ding dagdag na naman. There is additional program outcomes. Okay? May additional naman. And it's always based on the alignment of the program or the specific programs outcome. The program outcome is always aligned to the college intended outcome and then the institutional outcome. Kaya laging ganoon yung procedure natin. And then, what about kapag sa subject na? Okay. For example, one of the learning competency na nakasulat sa ating in our syllabus is to demonstrate, okay? Demonstrate understanding of the interrelationship among the social, cultural, and biological basis of human behavior. This is a specific or what we call the course intended learning outcome. Ay, intended learning competency. Yan. Ano naman yung outcome? Okay. Students should be able to demonstrate that they can describe critical cross-cultural differences in human behavior and to account for those differences in terms of interplay among society, culture, and biology. Now, this is what we call the competency. Okay? While this one is the course intended outcome. Isa lang sa intended outcome. Kaya nga, lagi nating iisipin na is the syllabi or the syllabus provides concept about outcome or competency. Ano ba ang nakasulat? Yan. Another example of the learning competency that we have, demonstrate competence in understanding, critically, assessing, and using major anthropological concept. Yan. While this one is what we call the course intended learning outcome. By the way, may mga naka-highlight dyan blue kasi yan yung level of competence. The level of competence that a teacher required to manifest and the level of competence that the learners should able to adapt. Yan. We do have a demonstrate knowledge, demonstrate competence, and others. Okay? Actually, nakasulat yan dito. Program competencies. Demonstrate familiarity, demonstrate knowledge, demonstrate understanding, demonstrate competence. Ibig sabihin, meron tayong hierarchy of level of competencies. Yan. Okay. Yan po. Ngayon, pumasok na tayo ngayon sa ating paggawa ng syllabus. Actually, meron na naman kayo niyan. This is the template that we are using. Yan, I do not know if that is the same template of the school since meron kayong ISO tsaka accreditation, we adhere to the template being provided by the accrediting organization or the organization na nagbibigay sa atin ng ano ba ito? Level of performance. Now, the first one is the course title, yan, the subject title, and then the subject code, the credits units being earned or to be earned by the learners after they complied and passed the subject. And then if there is a course prerequisite, yan. And then the course description, and then the course intended learning outcome. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina that there are cases wherein instead of a teacher statement, statement or teacher-centered statement objective, ang sinusulat nila ay course intended learning outcomes. Yan. What is the purpose? Ano bang purpose ng subject? Yan. Now, the purpose can either be stated in terms of teacher-centered or outcome-based centered. But since we are dealing with the outcome-based education as much as possible, we really have to rewrite or translate the given a teacher-centered statement into an outcome-based statement. Yan. Okay? Ito yung halimbawa ko. From teacher-centered statement to outcome-centered goal statement. For example, nakalagay sa ating course syllabus na introduce the technical vocabulary that communication professionals use to talk about the types of communication phenomena they study. Instead of writing introduce, we can have determine the technical vocabulary, that communication. Yan, para at least siya ay outcome-centered. Ibig sabihin, ano ang dapat gawin ano ang dapat maging resulta. Okay, what will be the result coming from the perspective of the learner? Okay, they can able to determine the technical vocabulary instead of informing our teacher, o introduce mo naman tong technical vocabulary doon sa ating sa ating course objective or purpose, instead of reprimanding, di ba? O kaya naman imperatively informing our teachers na, oy, dapat ang sulat mo dyan, introduce. Hindi. Kasi ano ba ang gusto na mangyari, okay, para sa mga estudyante? Yan. Survey, explain, illustrate, use, promote, apply. Yan. Okay? And then, I hope na naunawaan natin. Ito, this is somehow an activity analyzing course objective that you have. Understand the definition, uses, and importance of statistics and its branches. Demonstrate knowledge, okay? Etong demonstrate knowledge and skills, hindi pa siya nakasulat. Hindi pa siya nakasulat sa outcome base. Understand, hindi rin. Okay? Use the different statistical tool. This is written in the outcome base. Use different data methods in gathering and presenting data. This is also written in the outcome base or outcome oriented statement. Yan. Kaya there are some syllabi or syllabus that we crafted sa program offered for a certain degree na hindi nakasulat sa outcome base. Now, for example, eto nga yung number 1 tsaka number 2. Now, on that case, you have to revisit. And whatever be the mandate of the institution, okay, na kinakailangan yung baguhin, babaguhin natin. We really have to follow. Pero kung wala namang instruction, okay, be it. But if you really want to magnify the outcome-based education, to really intensify, enhance, let this outcomes, or let this be purpose be translated in terms of an outcome. Yan. Okay, I hope naunawaan po natin. And we go with the second one. Ito po, para mas clear po sa atin. Now, I do have here the outcome-based teaching learning course plan, also known as the syllabus. Yan. Step number 1, you really have to go with your number 1 po natin, sa pag-visit natin in your activity that you are going to have sa workshop po natin. By the way, hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon, it is not all true, okay? Not all true or not true at all na ang ating course description or the purpose, yung purpose natin ay laging naka-teacher. There are cases na naka-outcome based naman na siya. Now, kung sakasakali naka-teacher based siya, then you are going to revisit and translate it into outcome based. Yan. Okay? Now, I do have your example. Sorry if there are terms that I commit under the given template. This is just an example template that I crafted. Eugelio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology, College of Public and Business Administration. For example, the Department of Business Management. And then what will be the subject? For example, the subject is college algebra. Now, you have to write now the course title, the course code, the credit, and if there is a course prerequisite. Next, provide the course description. Okay, provide the course description. And then, let's go with our first step, the course intended learning outcomes. I repeat, when we talk about content learning outcome, what is the purpose? the purpose is written in the teacher-centered statement. And then the teacher-centered statement should be translated into outcome-centered goals or outcome-based statement. Okay? Then after that, after your step number 1, okay? Example, this one, okay? The course objective intended for the college algebra. Okay, demonstrate understanding of the basic. Demonstrate is not written in terms of outcome-centered. Okay, therefore, the demonstrate understanding should be translated and should be crafted in terms or written in terms of outcome. Okay, use the diagram. Therefore, this is written in terms of outcome. Therefore, retain, we are just going to rewrite. Okay, and others. You really have to analyze. Manifest skills, manifest skills. This is not written in terms of outcome. Therefore, convert the course objective into course intended learning outcomes. Now, I do have here example of finished course plan in college algebra, and we are going to know how did we crafted this one. Preliminary period, for example, this is a prelim. Okay, week 1, content standard. I repeat, content standard is also known as, this is also known as the learning competency. In the basic education, the content standard is the learning competency, or this is also the program competency in the higher education. Okay, how are we going to know the content standard? Sometimes we are going to write the content standard in terms of sometimes we are going to know what are the different topics in a certain unit or in a certain subject. Whatever be the topics or units in a certain subject, we are just going to form it into a one sentence, and that will become the content standard. Okay? And you can also revisit the manual, the topology of higher education, the manual. Okay, so that you can able to know what are the learning competencies intended, okay, for that particular subject. And then after the content standard, for example, demonstrate understanding of mathematical translation, demonstrate competence in solving linear, quadratic, and radical equations. These are 2 content standards. Okay, 2 content standards, but it doesn't mean it is only intended for week 1. Okay, it is not only intended for week 1. Perhaps it can be intended for 6 weeks. Okay, demonstrate understanding of mathematical translation. For example, this is good for 1 week. Okay, now for the declarative knowledge and functional knowledge, this is what we call the essential learning. Okay, what are the different topics? For declarative knowledge, what are the different topics that you are going to introduce so that the informations will be generated and there will be informations acquired by the learners. Now, for the demonstrative understanding of mathematical translation, you really have to consider what are the different topics or what is the topic that you are going to teach in accordance to the content standard. Understanding of mathematical translation. Okay. For example, we have the topic changing mathematical sentences to symbol. Okay. That is one of the topics. Okay. That is what we call declarative knowledge. Yan. What about functional knowledge? Functional knowledge is that stating what are you going to do or what will the learner are going to do. Okay, for example, expressing mathematical sentence to symbols. Sometimes in the given references, the title of the given topic is expressed in terms of functional knowledge. Expressed in functional knowledge. Sometimes it is written in terms of declarative knowledge. Whichever be the present, therefore you are just going to write it on your course plan. And then intended learning outcomes. Yan. We do have the intended learning outcomes. For example, under the concept of demonstrate understanding mathematical translation, therefore, how are you going to achieve it? That is to translate English phrases into algebraic expressions and participate in the bingo game by matching 24 pairs of expression. Who are going to translate? Definitely the learners. Who are going to demonstrate? Definitely, definitely that is the learners itself, but the instruction will be guided by the teacher. Okay, and then what are your suggested teaching and learning activities so that there will be a realization of these intended learning outcomes? Algebraic tiles or algebraic tiles and bingo games. And what will be the form of assessment? Bingo activity cards. Okay, now to further revisit this particular concept, let's go with number 2. Step number 2. After stating our purpose, the course intended learning outcome, now we go with step number 2, content standard. Okay? Now you have to utilize the level of competencies. We have demonstrate familiarity, level 1, demonstrate knowledge of, level 2, demonstrate understanding, level 3, or demonstrate competence, level 4. And then, after the step number 2, you have to what? Okay, under the concept of demonstrate understanding, as mentioned earlier, you can use the reference book or you can use the manual given by the higher education so that you can write your learning competencies. Okay, demonstrate understanding of, example, derivative and continuity, the chain rule, one-sided derivative, and others. You are just going to what? You are just going to write it. Okay? And then for declarative knowledge, then these are now the specific topics. Ito lang din naman yon. Okay? And then the functional knowledge, okay, what about in derivative? What is on about the chain rule? Anong ipapagawa mo doon? Under the functional knowledge. Yan. I repeat, number 1, you have to go first with your course intended learning outcome or the program or the course purpose or the course objectives. And then step number 2, write now your content standard or the learning competencies. Using the level of competencies, we have familiarity, knowledge, understanding, competence. Okay, for example, on my previous example, demonstrate understanding of the real number system and various properties of real numbers, equality, and absolute value. Content standard is also known as the learning competencies. Should know and be able to do by the students. This is what we call the desired results of the students in a particular program. Yan. For declarative knowledge, this will become the step number 3 and step number 4. Now, what are the different topics under this learning competency or content standard? Classification of numbers, properties of real numbers, absolute. These are what we call the topics. That is also written. For example, chapter 4, derivatives and continuity, the chain rule. This will be written in the declarative knowledge. Yan. What if there is a subtopic? What if there is a subtopic? Now, if that will be the case, then you can have what? You can have the subtitle under the declarative knowledge, okay? And then for the functional knowledge, now what are you going to do with the classification of numbers? Differentiating real and imaginary, identifying subsets. Actually, in the basic education, when we are writing our lesson plan or when we are preparing our lesson plan from the given learning competency, because we don't have declarative knowledge. We don't have declarative knowledge, but rather we only have the learning competency. And from the learning competency, we state what the topic is all about. It is not the topic that is being introduced first, but rather the learning competency. Yan. And from the given learning competency or the given topic, I have to state now what will be the functional knowledge, differentiating real and imaginary. Kasi classification ng number real or imaginary numbers. Okay? Yan. Every declarative knowledge have its own functional knowledge. Yan. And how many? How many will be introduced or be written? It's always up to the instructor. Oh, wala namang nagsasabi doon na ay kinakailangan mo ng 4, ay kinakailangan mo ng 5, ng 3. It's always up to what will be the dimension of learning. The dimension of the learning of the learners as regards to the perspective of the teacher and the perspective of the program or the course. Yan. Kaya baka sabihin natin, ay kulang pa yan kasi dapat maximum of 4. Okay, wala namang ganoon. Okay, then step number 5. Ito na. After knowing your content standard and then the topics and the functional knowledge, then go with your intended learning outcomes. Now, for the intended learning outcomes, example, the very best understanding that could be reasonably expected, it should be written in verb form kasi behavioral. Okay?
Ay, 31.
Okay? Yeah, that will be step number 7. And then we also have suggested learning activities or teaching and then assessment tasks. Okay. Now, for example, we do have the intended learning outcomes. You can have, okay, you can have for cognitive demand, under cognitive demand, for intended learning outcome, you can have, for number 1, you can have compare and contrast. Yan, compare and contrast. You can have analyze if you want to, but the word analyze is for real world context. Or you can have the meaning making output, determine the necessary. Ibig sabihin, the behavioral terms that you are using is in accordance to what? The well-defined intended learning outcomes, which are cognitive demand ba ito? Ibig sabihin, knowledge ba ang pinag-uusapan? Okay? O kaya naman real world context. Yan, outside. Ibig sabihin nasa field. O kaya naman ay meaning making output, decision making.
O kaya yung pangatlo. Pangatlo.
And then for step number 8,
Sa pangatlo.
okay, for step number 8, after we are through with step number 7, step number 8 is your suggested teaching and learning activities. Now, for the suggested teaching and learning activities, I do provide here the course toolbox. Okay, and then the instructional strategies that you can utilize. For example, analogy, cartoon, speech, story paragraph, recording, dictionary, television show, reading text reading, yan, paraphrasing, conversion, yan. Those are what we call suggested teaching and learning activities. Now, other than that, you can use the different course toolbox. Ito. For example, if the intended learning outcome is to describe suggested or possible teaching learning activities can be reading, can be lecture, followed by the presentation. That is teaching learning activities. What about explain? If our behavioral term written in the intended learning outcome is explain, you can have tutorial, written essay, or peer assessment. Okay. And then what about if you are using the word integrate, project, and assignment is the teaching learning activities. What about apply learning? Project, case study, work-based, service learning. What about solve problems? PBL, case study. Design or create? Project rather, creative writing. Hypothesize, we have experiment and project. Reflect, reflective diary. It is also important that at the end of the session, there should be reflection, what had been transpired or what is now the reflective concept gained by the learners. Yan. Pero it's always up to the teacher how he or she be able to adapt this suggested. Kasi ito naman ay suggested lamang. Okay? Note that many of the TLAs can be assessment tasks. Katulad nito, project, assignment, it can be an assessment task. Pero yung assignment kasi, hindi naman talaga siya it is not assessment task, but rather it is a reinforcement or it can also be a leading activity to the new lesson or the upcoming lesson, or it can also be an enrichment. Yan. What about a project? Yan, nasabi ko na kanina. Ano ba? Peer assessment, yan. Okay? Ibig sabihin, there are some TLAs or teaching learning activities that is also an assessment. Yan. Okay, example of an outputs. Yan, written products or performance. Actually, it will be discussed by the next discussant about what are the possible assessment procedures that we can utilize in the new normal or outcome-based education. Okay, we do have the written products or performance, the oral products, the visual products. Ito yun siya, advertisement or advertisement, biography, book report, brochure, collection, and others. The copy is already forwarded to the Dean, Dr. Willie. You can also ask for the copy for a better understanding of the presentation. Okay, another example, the typical intended learning outcomes: describe, explain, integrate, apply, learning. Okay, the possible teaching and learning, for example, describe reading. What will be the possible assessment task? Because there should be alignment. If our intended learning outcome is to describe, do not provide a project-based assessment or portfolio-based assessment. Yan. Kasi kung minsan kasi we provide challenge to our learners. And not knowing that there is what we call a hierarchy of assessment and alignment of assessment to the intended learning outcome. Hindi ka pwedeng you ask or the intended learning outcome is to explain, yep, you are providing an assessment in a form of a visual or advertisement. Parang hindi nagbabalanse. It does not align or it does not fit. The given assessment does not fit in the given intended learning outcome. Yan. Explain, ang kanyang intended is assignment, essay question, exam, oral. You can also ask them recitation, perhaps to really validate if the outcome intended of the course or the topic is or achieved. Yan. And then integrate. Okay, you can have the project assessment, a project assignment rather, integration of the concept that in a certain problem, there is what we call the application of the concept acquired. Ibig sabihin, kapag na-integrate ng mga estudyante yung konsepto na napag-aralan in terms of project assessment, ibig sabihin, yung outcome ay na-achieve natin. Okay. And then design, okay, you can also have ask them to prepare or to produce a brochure. Pwede rin naman yun. Ibig sabihin, kapag ang bata ay nakagawa ng brochure and then yung brochure na yon ay na-satisfied ka based on the condition and the application of the concept. Therefore, yung ating intended learning outcome na that the learner can able to design and create ay na-achieve natin. Yan. That's why we really have to consider what is the intended learning outcome of the certain topic to what we really want to achieve. Okay? In accordance to ano ba yung assessment na ibibigay natin. Yan. Kasi baka naman design yung objective natin pero hindi naman nagmamanifest sa ating assessment. Ibig sabihin, the opportunity for the learners to really show the concept about designing and creating the intended learning outcome of the given competency was not delivered effectively because there is what we call not aligned assessment task. Kaya mahalaga ang konsepto ng pagbabalik tanaw ng outcome-based education. We really have to revisit. And then from revisiting, we have to enhance our competency. Kasi kung minsan, nawawala tayo doon. Okay? Kasi nga, there is what we call a case of entitlement. Okay? Dahil sa, kasi alam ko na yan, naturo ko na yan 5 years ago. Naturo ko na yan for 10 years, sabi nga doon. But the thing is that, nagkakaroon ng changes. Baka naman yung practice natin ay hindi na applicable. That's why, here comes the OBE. And then we have to really revisit. On my case, kahit ako ay nag-graduate na, nagtuturo ako ng same subject, for how many years? For 13 years sa college kasi I started teaching sa college. St. Dominic College of Asia opens the opportunity for me to handle college education. And for 13 years, paulit-ulit yung mga tinuturo ko. But the thing is, there is what we call changes in the delivery of the competency. Kaya, since nandito ito siya, dapat we have to really adhere and follow. Okay? Kasi baka obsolete na yung ang ating mga tinuturo sa mga estudyante. Kasi our instructional design or the instructional approach that we are using ay yung laging pa-report sa mga estudyante. Hindi naman masama ang pagpapa-report sa mga estudyante. The thing is, there should be variation of the instructional approaches in the delivery of instruction. Since this is the intended learning outcome, ito yung gusto natin na ma-manifest ng mga estudyante, dapat yung instructional strategy, pati yung assessment ay naka-align doon sa intended learning outcomes. Ganoon siya. Okay? And then, I am talking about instructional framework. Ito yung iba't ibang paraan kung paano natin ituturo o i-deliver ang learning competency wherein the learning intended outcome will be manifested and developed by the learners. Instructional models, ito ay nasa theory of learning and theory of behaviorism, informational processing. Kasi it is really important that retention is mastered by the learners. Hindi yung pagkatapos ng klase tapos na. Katulad niyan, we are dealing with the online learning. There are too many external factors that will really affect the online delivery. Therefore, how are we going to sustain or how are we going to really engage into the information processing concept? Paano ma-retain? Paano yung sensory memory? Paano yung long-term memory? Paano yung short-term memory? Okay? How are we going to impose discipline during the online Yan, nasa behavioral naman yan. And whatever be reflected and seen sa visual, sa online portal ng mga estudyante, we serve as a model. Kaya kung ano yung nakikita ng mga estudyante, automatic, nagkakaroon ng manifestation kasi it is being modeled by the learners. Kaya if we are not ready, we are not prepared, therefore our learners will not be prepared also kasi tayo yung kanilang modelo. These are what we call the real object, di ba? Social interactions, how are we going to incorporate? How are we going to incorporate the communication within one learner to another learner? How are we going to impose a recitation, the formative assessment to our learners during the virtual? Dapat planadong-planado yan ng isang guro na nagtuturo sa online. Kasi this is the new landscape of education and we cannot really deviate na ayoko talaga naman yan walang ang face to face, di ba? What we want is not being provided kasi ito yung tinatawag nating health condition or health crisis or crisis, di ba? Na the mere fact that there is what we call health issues and there is what we call protocols, even we would like to have face to face, we really cannot impose instruction using face to face, di ba? But there are some programs, there are some programs na tawag dito, meron ng permit to operate using face to face. Selected lamang yung programs, yan. And then the personal, yan. These are what we call the instructional models. And from the instructional models, ito yung mga teorya, the theory of readiness, the theory of effect, yan, the law of effect, the law of use, kapag hindi ginagamit, di ba? Automatic, nagkakaroon ng, loss ng information. Yan. At saka, if we keep on repeatedly provide an instruction na okay, paki-mute yung ating phone if you are not being asked o wala ka naman kung tanungin. Kapag paulit-ulit na ginagawa mo yan, therefore, nagkakaroon ng retention among the learners kasi there is what we call the law of use. Tapos, if we keep on asking the learners to, okay, you have to take down some important details about the discussion. Now, syempre, paulit-ulit na ginagawa nila iyon, automatic yung konsepto ng law of retention at law of use ay na-adhere natin. Now, these are what we call theories. Yan. Instructional strategies after. Ano ba ang uri ng pagtuturo natin? Direct ba? Indirect ba? Interactive? Experiential? Independent? Yan. Now, saan ba makikita yan? Definitely, yan ay sa execution na ng ating plan, ng ating syllabus. Yan. Makikita yan at that is also reflected in the teaching learning activity. Ano bang method of instruction will be provided? Although meron ka ng activity, pero ang tanong dito ay, what about in terms of content? Anong gagamitin natin? Direct or indirect? And then, instructional methods. Okay. Inquiry ba? Simulation? Lecture ba? Case study ba? Cooperative learning? Learning contacts ba? Focus on imagining? Or debate? Now, these are what we call instructional methods. What about skills? Okay. Meron ka bang planning? Meron ka bang direction giving? Presenting, demonstrating, questioning, evaluating na makikita sa iyong lesson. Ibig ba sabihin ay you do have the formative assessment because you keep on asking questions to your learners. You do have the activity. That's why you are providing direction what he or she is going to do. Do you provide information through demonstration sa pagle-lecture mo? Or prepared ba ang lahat ng materials mo kasi you already plan out? Do you have evaluation kasi you really have you do have the skills that there will be an evaluation that will happen. Technically, meron ka bang ipipresent? Ibig sabihin, well-versed ka ba sa technology? Since we are dealing with the new landscape of instruction, the online, kasi whether we like it or we like it, we really have to like it. Ibig sabihin, walang options, walang pagkakataon na hindi natin gugustuhin kasi this is our bread and butter to teach, di ba? At dito tayo kumukuha ng ating source of income. Therefore, we really have to adhere. Since tayo ay nasa new normal at ang ating pagtuturo ay online, kung meron man modular, basta't guided pa rin tayo that we are providing information to our learners. Yan. Now, these are the instructional models that we can have. And then, sa instructional strategies, eto po siya. And then, nakasulat na rin po dito sa aking binigay na handout kung what particular instructional methods will be utilized under direct instruction, indirect instruction. Nakasulat na rin po kung ano yung mga dapat gamitin. Yan. It is all written. Yan. At balikan po natin uli yung aking binigay na halimbawa. Ito po. Okay? Now, always remember that in the context of outcome-based education, what is being seen as of the moment is the plan, the syllabus that you have. And the implementation will happen beginning of the calendar year or the academic year 21-2022. Yan. Hope I was able to provide justice to the topic being asked for me to discuss. Now, this is the example of the syllabi or the syllabus that you are going to revisit in your own subject given o yung nakaload sa atin. With this, maraming salamat and looking forward that I able to share something about revisiting the outcome-based education. Maraming salamat po muli.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alexander Moron, for sharing us a very valuable, useful, and relevant information. I could say that there is really justice at this point because you make yourself charitable to us. No, we know the fact that our words is not enough to say thank you to you this morning. But before that, I would like to ask if you could accommodate questions, no, coming from our faculties and participants, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Okay, now at this point, we are going to have our question and answer. And may I ask our dear participant to please raise your question directly. You may open your camera and sounds and ask our guest speaker. Or if you wish, you may chat on the chat box and I'm going to read it. All right. Question po, it is our opportunity to ask the expert. I think they are formulating, sir, their question to you at this point. Let's give them a moment to reflect. What are their questions? Pero thank you talaga, Dr. Alex, for having you this morning. It's very, the day was fruitful, how we formulate ourselves, no, how we deliver ourselves, no, to become an agent of wisdom and truth at this point. No, you reveal us, no, how to become an effective servants of our society.
Sir Ronald, I have a question.
Yes, Professor Oliveros, you may open your camera or you may ask it directly to the
Thank you, Dr. Moron, for your very informative discussion a while ago. My question, Doc, is that is the preparations of syllabus or there's any standard syllabus or syllabi for all the institutions like higher education?
Good morning, sir, Professor Oliveros. Actually, sir, the standard or the template being provided earlier is the template coming from the school that I am connected with. Now, in your institution or in the IRIS, you also have your standard based on the what is being approved or what is being deliberately uh, approved by the colleges and also by the accreditation organization. Kasi, for example, sir, sa St. Dominic, wherein we are preparing the syllabus every year and then we are just revisiting. But the template provided for us for the Pakukowa is different from the ISO standard. Kaya it's always the mandate kung ano yung prepared ng school, kung ano yung ginagamit nila. What is most important ay yung essential features of the syllabus na dapat meron tayong learning competency or the learning competency perhaps can be omitted kasi sa yung pinakita ko kasi nilalagay lang namin yung competency. Instead of the competency, we are using the course intended learning outcome instead of the competency.
Thank you, Doc. Follow-up questions. Based on last webinars which I attended, so the speakers wants to integrate or recommended to integrate the 17 goals the 17 UN goals for sustainability development. Is it a requirement for a higher education?
Okay, for the purpose of industry related, as much as possible, we really have to incorporate in our program objectives the sustainable goals is stated yung 17 nga. It's always up to the mandate of the school. Kasi these are just suggestions. Actually, suggestions lang naman to. It's always up to the management if they want to incorporate already. But if our intention is to really globally fit our learners in the industry related, therefore, as much as possible, dapat sa ating course syllabi or sa course syllabus natin, when we deliver instruction, ay nai-incorporate na natin yung content ng integration netong sustainable goals.
So we're just only integrate those related 17 goals to our intended learning outcome, TLA, and assessment tools.
Yes, sir.
But not necessary to include to our course objective.
No po, sir. Kasi the course objective is prescribed objective given by the higher education unless they are going to revise the course objective.
Okay.
At the same time kasi sir, yung sustainable goal kasi nagbabago-bago rin naman yan based on the demand.
Kasi sir, based on my observation, if we are referring to CMO 17-2017, very limited yung binigay na course descriptions ng Commission on Higher Education. When I look at the CMO, I think only one that is intended for operation management was provided by the higher education.
Yun nga, sir. Kaya talagang ang pinakamahalagang aspeto nga talaga dito is that tawag dito, we consider the mandate or the manual provided by the higher education, but as well as we are also considering ano ba talaga yung institutional na intended learning outcome, and then the program intended learning outcome, so that yung competency ng subject ay mai-align natin doon sa demand ng program.
Okay, last question, Doc. Sorry for the length question. So my last question is that is it okay po ba to use the provided program outcomes given by the CMO 17/2017?
Opo, sir. Pwede naman yun. Pero sir, yun nga, sabi natin kanina na if the given intended learning outcome is not stated in terms of outcome based or outcome centered, kasi there are some noong chine-check kasi namin yung sa CMO na provided sa amin na manual ng higher education, there are some teacher centered ini-impose sa teacher wherein parang alam naman natin na there are cases wherein hindi siya teacher it is not written in terms of an outcome based. That's why pwede mo siyang baguhin. You can translate it into a student centered or outcome based centered statement.
Thank you very much, Professor Oliveros. We have a word of appreciation coming from our Associate Dean. Thank you so much, Dr. Alex Moron, for sharing an informative topic for us. So, okay. Yes, let's go back to the question and answer, my dear Technical. I think Dr. David is speaking something.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Dr. Moron. In addition to module and syllabus preparations, there are programs wherein the references are really unavailable. For instance, sir, when it comes to the program of franchising, there are no available textbooks in all branches of National Bookstore. But when you try to search the Google or the internet, the references given are still scanty and incomplete. My question is, what effective alternatives could you suggest in order for us to get complete data for us to complete our module and syllabi preparations more effective and relevant? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Good morning, Sir Ramon. Professor Ramon David. Actually, sir, there will always be scarcity talaga. There is always a limited resources of the learning materials, okay? Especially if there is a introduction of the new in the introduction of the new subject, okay? Now, on that case, perhaps, sir, nasabi mo na rin kanina, sir, that modules are not available or there are some topics in the given subject that is not available in the reference materials kasi nga siguro outdated or there is no approved or there is no printed learning materials that is aligned to the given specific discipline. Ang suggestion ko dito is that the school or the college perhaps can have a workshop on how to develop learning materials that is really aligned to the competency wherein all competencies in the given or all the outcomes intended in the given subject is available in that learning material or module. Pero as of today kasi, sir, since sa akin kasi, I also experienced that one. Ang ginagawa ko dan is, ang dami kong materials, for example, in the teaching of mathematics in the modern world, hindi lang isang reference ang aking pinagkukuhaan. If there is no available, then I suggest talagang manggagaling talaga sa iyo na based sa experience mo. Yun nga lang, ang magiging problema lang doon is that the information that coming from you may differ from the same professor teaching or the other professor teaching the same subject. Kaya para at least magkaroon ng tawag dito o ng congruency or similarity or coherence about the delivery of information, siguro mag-usap-usap yung magkakapare-pareho na teachers na nagtuturo ng isang discipline na merong lacking of concept or lacking information kasi hindi available yung materials. Perhaps it can be para magkaroon ng similarity. Pero yun talaga, sir, kasi wala naman po ako, sir, sa ano talaga, sa Commission on Higher Education. Kung nasa doon sana ako, at least I can. But I am in the Department of Education. Sa amin sa Department of Education, since I am serving as a Learning Resource Manager, we make sure that learning materials will be available, that modules will be available, and these modules are quality assured modules. Yan po.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you po.
Thank you, Dr. David, for that question. And then thank you din po, Dr. Moron, for answering our questions. Now, may I call on our partner, beautiful sisters in the College of Public and Business Administration, Dr. Milas.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello,
ma'am. You
sir.
want to announce something, ma'am?
Oh, yes, meron, sir.
Okay, all
I would
right. You may
like to
do
call
so.
on our dazzling dean to present the certificate of recognition and read the citation to our resource speaker, none other than Dr. Moron. Dean, may we call on you for the certificate?
Thank you, Dr. Milas.
Thank you din po, sir.
Okay, so Eloyo Amang Rodriguez, Institute of Science and Technology. This certificate of appreciation is awarded to Dr. Alexander M. Moron Jr. for sharing his valuable knowledge and expertise as a resource speaker in the Faculty Development Program webinar with the topic Magnifying Outcome-Based Education. Given this third 2021 via virtual, signed by yours truly, Dr. Frederick C. Pena, the Vice President for Academic Affairs, and also the President of IRIS, Dr. Edita V. Pilio.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Willie Ogopasin, our beloved. And now, may I ask everyone to please open your camera, send your reactions and your clap, your love, sending your love to the resource speaker. You may use the reactions in your Zoom. All right. And for the pictorial, thank you very much, Dean, for giving the certificate, and of course to our resource speaker. Dr. Moron, can we have pictures for you as documentation? All right, may I request everyone?
Okay, kindly open your webcam.
Opo, for
Hindi naman ako
documentation.
nakikita.
Opo.
Nakita
Yan.
yung aking ano.
And have your beautiful faces and smile. For this morning, are we all open? Ayan, thank you very much, Sir Moron, from our Chief of Cultural Affairs, Professor Celestial. So we have pictures po. Okay, all right. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, one more. Wow. For a while, taking another thing. Okay, all right. So, kamusta naman po? Pwede naman pong buksan yung sounds at pwede pong humingi ng palakpak para ma-feel ko
Okay.
naman buhay pa po kayo dyan. Alright.
Thank you,
Kaya
thank
may
you.
pumapalakpak, no? Hindi pala mga picture ang kausap ko, buhay na buhay. So, another
Buhay
one.
na buhay.
1, 2, 3. Alright. Yan. Kahit may aso, okay lang yan. So, thank you very much, Dr. Alexander Moron Jr. for this wonderful and meaningful day with you this morning. So, before that, I would like also to thank our technical team, no? Headed by the HRF President, Miss Dumdum, and of course, our ever-supported
Synopsis.
All right, okay. I'm so sorry for that. So before that, we may call on our program chair of the Human Resources Development Management for the synopsis. Okay. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
It's okay.
All right, thank you po.
O kasi ba may ma-close mo? Okay, for the synopsis of the seminar entitled Rethinking Outcomes-Based Education, as our speaker share his valuable thoughts and ideas on the following. So the outcomes-based education focuses on student learning, wherein OBE is an approach that focuses and organizes the education system around what is essential for all learners to know the value and be able to achieve the desired level of competence. Using learning outcome statements to make explicit of what a students expected to be, to able
Para
to
may
know,
dagdag ko yun, ano yung mga
to
publication.
understand, or do. Providing learning activities that will help the students to reach learning outcomes, assessing the extent to which the students meet these outcomes using explicit assessment criteria. He also talks about principles of OBE, which is clarity of focus, wherein the outcomes based follow the clear outcome and objectives. Principle 2, high expectation with OBE. There is a challenging learning opportunities and achievement of higher standards. Principle expanded opportunity with OBE. There is a new and a different teaching approaches and learning activities. Principle on designing down, wherein OBE curriculum content should flow clearly from general to specific outcomes and to a class lesson activities. He concluded also that OBE typologies were in transitional OBE and transformational OBE, wherein they move from teaching to subjects cultivating the higher order competencies. The other one is a future-oriented, focuses on what is a broad role performance capabilities of young people and their ability to do complex tasks directly on a real-life situation. Dr. Moron break down the OBTE course plan conversion process into a step-by-step. Step 1 down to step 9, from course description, content standards, formulation of declarative knowledge, functional knowledge, formulation of intended learning outcome, suggested teaching and learning activities, and lastly is the assessment task, wherein you will know how you will know that the learners have learned. He also elaborated instructional framework that composed of instructional models, instructional materials, instructional methods, and instructional skills. The instructional model represents the broadest level of instructional practices and present a philosophical orientation to instruction, wherein instructional materials have several strategies wherein the professors can use. Direct instruction strategy, which is highly teacher-directed, which is commonly used by us. Indirect instruction, wherein the student-centered approach. Interactive instructions, on the other hand, allow us in a grouping and interactive methods. Inspirational learning can be viewed as a cycle of 5 phases, such as experiencing, sharing, publishing, analyzing, or processing, inferring, or generalizations, and applying. Instructional methods wherein professors has to create a learning environment, learners activity that is needed in executing its lesson. The instructional skills that involves techniques such as questioning, direction giving, explaining, and demonstrating. I hope that these seminars enlighten some gray areas in outcomes-based education, keep us abreast to quality education, and challenges us to go beyond to what is expected from us. We can say that taking our program and syllabus as our tools towards creating the best learning experience for our students, as we expect them also to become at their greatest selves when they leave and graduated from this school. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much to all of you. I would like to ask again, no? I'm very sorry, Madam Chair.
It's okay.
So, my dear participants, let's give a round of applause to Dr. Charlene Iscario for this morning. Can you open your sounds?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And of course, may I ask also a round of applause, of course, to our ever-beloved Dean of the College of Public and Business Administration, Dr. William Gapasi. And of course, to the presence of our ever-beloved President, Dr. Edita Bipilio. All right? And of course, to our bountiful graces now received through the presence of our moderator for this morning, Dr. Mylas, and of course, Professor Oliveros. A round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Of course, the Student Association, the HRDM, headed by our the president of the student HRDM organization, Miss Dumdum. And then, of course, Dr. Opido for this Zoom. Mayroon pa po bang, Dr. Mylas, you want to say something? Mayroon pa po ba kayong gustong pasalamatan?
Wala na po dahil nagawa naman po nating lahat. So, keep safe and be healthy. Yun na lang po para matalo natin si COVID. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Okay. Thank you so much. Once again, I am Hernan Oliveros. Together with me is Dr. Mylas. We are your moderator for this morning session. Please support us with our day 2 webinars and live chat. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Po. God bless.
God bless everyone.
God bless everyone.
Sir Ronald, closing prayer pa po.
Ay,
We have
closing
closing
out.
prayer.
Organizer,
Another,
please
let us close
stay.
Wait
ourselves
lang.
to the presence of God. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I should not be here.
Wala si Sir Rona.
May we call on Professor Dibaga for his closing prayer.
Good morning, guys.
Closing
So please
prayer.
bow down our head for our closing prayer. Lord God, thank you so much for today, for giving us an opportunity to learn more and intensify our learning for outcome-based educations, and for giving us an opportunity to know more about and learn more about how we were able to do our job perfectly. Thank you so much for our Dean for continuously supporting our department, and also for our human resource chairperson, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity also to be part of this program, and also for all those faculties who attended this seminar. Thank you so much for your time today, and Lord, thank you so much. I hope and we pray that on our up until the end of this seminar and this program, we were able to finish and we were able to manage to learn and applied all those learnings from this seminar. Ito lamang po ang aming samot dalangin sa marami sa pangalan ni Jesus. Amen. And thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you so much po.
Amen. Okay. Thank you very much.
See you tomorrow for our
technical
second
team.
day
Thank you.
Right.
You may play the
Stay
Iris sim na lang po. My dear technical team.
And so good luck to office administration tomorrow.
Thank you, Sir Willie.
Sir, same ano pa rin? Same Zoom link?
Yes po.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sir Willie.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much po.
Salamat po.
Stay
God
at your
bless.
DM. Please stay at your DM. Thank you.
Thank you very much po.
Thank
Bye
you so much po.
everyone.
Walang iris him.
Iris him.
And Celestial. Iris NSTP.
Ayan.
Meron yata music, sir eh.
Wala, meron pala.
Merong Celestial na sana eh.
Iris in the air. Feel the energy fly. There's a magic that when we are what a joy to feel in the air. When it's time to be the one again, let the cross beauty we obey. And as birthdays we give every day. Peace in the heart. Our love will go because it's to our noble sons, to give loyalty forever. Your name is in our heart.
I love you always.
Precious memories to our noble thoughts and deeds, to give you our loyalty forever. Praise forever.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So
Thank you po.
much.
Thank you.
To HRDM po, stay muna.
Congrats to HRDM program.
Thank
Dr.
you, thank
Escario.
you. Good
Thank you
luck
so
sa
much